Hi, it's Tash. Welcome to Tash's Library. Today's video is going to be my August TBR with the renowned TBR game. This is the board once again for my TBR game, and it has multiple different colors that correspond to different cards. So gold is stats and authors, green is covers and formats, red is titles and prose, silver is It's So Random, and blue is genres, settings, and tropes. Once again, I'm going to play with my trusty little Eeyore as my counter, and he's going to go on this bookworm space here. Of course, if I land on a bookworm space, then I get to play my bookworm game, which is always fun. However, there are also bookworm game prompts in here, so I do have quite a few opportunities to play this game. I'm going to throw 2 dice as usual, and of course if I throw a double I have to add an extra roll. I'm going to go with 5 rolls and we shall see how many I end up having. Roll number 1 is a 9. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and that's covers and formats. So I'm just going to randomly pull one. Let's go with this one, and it's spring. So any cover that's going to remind me of spring in some way or have the word spring on it. So for spring, I'm going to go with Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. Yes, I know it doesn't really say spring, but I feel like all the leaves on the cover remind me of spring. And so I'm going to do it because I want to read this book. I've been trying to get this onto my TBR for quite some time, and this is it. I'm going to put it on, and this sounds really, really cool. Basically, it's an expert on the study of fairies who is writing the world's first encyclopedia of fairy lore. And so she goes to this small village and has no real intention of befriending anyone, but then ends up having to spend time with her academic rival, Wendell Bamblebee. And I'm guessing there's going to be some romance. It sounds like a bit of that sunshine grumpy kind of trope. And you know what? It sounds really good. I've heard great things about it. Really looking forward to this one. Roll number 2. 12, right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That is gold. And of course it's a double, so we'll have 6 rolls. So gold is stats and authors. So let's just pick this one. A loved author. So that should be a fairly good one to be able to do. For loved author, I'm going to get another book on my TBR that is a new release. And this is Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. So this is the 3rd book in a not really connected series. I wouldn't call it a series, but her first book was The Love Hypothesis, which I loved, and then Love on the Brain. And yes, they're all very similar, but I love them. I love the fact that the characters are all in STEM, and I love the science talk, and I quite enjoy the quirky romances that occur in these. I'm really looking forward to this one. It was on my list for anticipated releases for 2023, and therefore I am going to get on with this one really quickly. This one is about a theoretical physicist who basically works as an adjunct professor and then makes up for her non-existent paycheck by offering her services as a fake girlfriend. So another fake dating trope, quite fun. And yes, and then all comes crashing down because Jack Smith, the annoyingly attractive and arrogant older brother of her favorite client, turns out to be the cold-hearted experimental physicist who ruined her mentor's career. So it sounds very, very similar to the others, but I'm all for it. Roll number 3 is a 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's silver. It's so random. And of course it is really going to be random. Let's just pull this one. Friend pick. Let's see what I can find for friend pick. I do have one friend who reads a lot of fantasy science fiction, so I'm going to see what he recommends. Friend pick. This was interesting because I did ask one of my really good friends to suggest one because he's really into fantasy and sci-fi, and therefore he suggested Ancillary Justice by Anne Leckie. I don't know anything about this book, but it has been on my TBR for quite some time, and it's apparently winner of the Hugo Award, Arthur C. Clarke Award, Nebula Award, Locus Award, BSFA Award, and it sounds pretty good. So the synopsis says, on a remote icy planet, the soldier known as Breck is drawing closer to completing her quest, and Breck is both more than she seems and less than she was. Years ago, she was the Justice of Torren, a colossal starship and an artificial intelligence controlling thousands of soldiers in the service of the Rudk, the empire that conquered the galaxy. An act of treachery has ripped it all away, leaving her with only one fragile human body, but that might just be enough to take revenge against those who have destroyed her. So it sounds like a kind of AI, kind of cool, quirky premise. Looking forward to this one. However, another friend of mine has kind of gone through some of my books and really wanted me to read this one because he thought it sounded really cool in terms of its premise. And this is Meru by S.B. Divya, and this was on my list of anticipated releases for the year, and it sounds like it's been described as a space opera. So on an uncharted planet, it's time for one woman to remake human history. So for 5 centuries, human life has been restricted to Earth, while post-human descendants called alloys freely explore the galaxy. But when a planet called Meru is discovered, 2 unlikely companions venture forth to test the habitability of this unoccupied new world and the future of human alloy relations. So you've got Jayanti, the adopted human child of alloy parents, and it's an opportunity to rectify the ancient reputation of her species as avaricious and destructive. And for Vaha, the pilot, it's a daunting yet irresistible adventure to find a success as an individual. And so the journey challenges they resolve in unexpected ways. They form a bond during their time alone on Meru. And yes, sounds good. I'm guessing there might be a bit of a romance. I'm not sure. I hope it's not too heavy on the romance, but we shall see. Roll number 4 is a 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that's a red. And let's pick this one. Color in the title. Oh, that should be good. I haven't had that one before. For color in the title, I'm going to get a book on my TBR that was on my list for reading this year. It's been on my bookcase forever. And this is Gods of Jade and Shadow, and by Silvia Moreno Garcia. And this is South American folklore, I believe. So, and it's described as an historical fantasy where the jazz age is in full swing, but Cassiopeia Tun is too busy scrubbing floors in her wealthy grandfather's house to do more than dream of a life far away from her small town in southern Mexico. And until the day she accidentally frees an ancient Mayan god of death, who offers her a deal in return for her help in recovering his throne. And from the jungles of Yucatan to the bright lights of Mexico City and deep into the darkness of Xibalba, the Mayan underworld, Cassiopeia's adventure will take on a perilous cross-country odyssey beyond anything she's ever known. I have wanted to read this. I love the idea of the South American setting, different folklore. Looking forward to this one. Right, roll number 5. It's a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's so random, and of course it adds an extra roll, so we'll have 7 rolls. Okay, so I'm just gonna pick this one, Storygraph TBR. Okay, so this is my Goodreads on my phone, and when I go into it, it does have a to read pile, and it comes up with 2 books. So what I'm going to be doing is picking one of those. However, this is just as I've gone in, so I'm going to refresh it, possibly by just going to the next page and then coming back. Right. So I have to choose between Shield Maiden and the reading list. So that's kind of cool. So choosing between a fantasy and a contemporary fiction. Let me think about this one. For Storygraph TBR, I didn't have a choice, pretty much. I had two options, and I went with the reading list by Sarah Nisha Adams. I really don't know much about this. I've got the synopsis. I have this on Kindle, and it's a contemporary literary novel that is described as an unforgettable and heartwarming debut about how a chance encounter with a list of library books helps forge an unlikely friendship between two very different people in a London suburb. So it involves a widower who lives a quiet life after losing his beloved wife, and he worries about his granddaughter Priya, who hides in her room reading while he spends his evenings watching nature documentaries. And then you have Alicia, a bright but anxious teenager working at the local library, who discovers a crumpled up piece of paper in the back of To Kill a Mockingbird. It's a list of novels she's never heard of before, and she decides to read every book on the list. Then they come together, and Alicia passes along the reading list, hoping that it will be a lifeline for him as well, and slowly they develop a shared connection forged by these books. I don't know, it sounds cool. I like any books about books, so we'll see what this is like. Right, roll number 6 is a 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that's green covers and formats. And I think I'm just going to pick this one. Book with pictures in it. Cool. That gives me quite a lot of scope. So it can either be any book that has diagrams. This could be non-fiction. It could be a middle grade book. It could be a manga. It could be anything with pictures in it. So it gives me quite a few options. Book of pictures, really easy choice for me. I'm just going to read the second volume of Witch Hat Atelier. Absolutely love the first volume, and this follows a young girl who decides that she wants to become a witch, and her dream appears to have an opportunity to come true when she comes across a fully fledged witch. However, shenanigans ensue, and it's really a heartwarming story, really cool little characters. The artwork is absolutely divine, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where her story goes. And final roll, hopefully, is 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and that's titles and prose. And let's put this one. Third person perspective. Okay, so I have to pick any book that has a third person perspective in it. So that should be fairly straightforward. And finally, third person perspective, I'm going to go with God Killer by Hannah Kaner. I'm really wanting to get 2023 releases on my list. I've fallen behind on them, and I missed out last year because I didn't read enough of the 2022 releases. They just sat on my bookcase or my Kindle, and I didn't get around to them. So this year, I'm going to do it. And the way to do this is to add as many 2023 releases to my TBRs as possible. Of course, without neglecting all my other reading plans. But anyway, back to God Killer. This sounds awesome. I've heard such good reviews about it. The synopsis says that Kissen's family were killed by zealots of a fire god. Now she makes a living killing gods and enjoys it. That is until she finds a god she cannot kill, a god of white lies, has somehow bound himself to a young noble, and they are both on the run from unknown assassins. Joined by a disillusioned knight on a secret quest, they must travel to the ruined city of Blenradden, where the last of the wild gods reside, to each beg a favour. Pursued by demons and in the midst of burgeoning civil war, they will all face a reckoning. Something is rotting at the heart of the kingdom, and only they can be the ones to stop it. Sounds fabulous. I'm so looking forward to this. And look at this cover. I just love this cover so much. And that's it. I ended up with 8 books on my TBR, a bit more than I was hoping for because I am quite busy, but 4 of them are new releases, which is super exciting. And some of the others are books that I've been wanting to read for quite some time. I'm hoping it's going to be a fabulous month. Thank you so much for watching. If you like it, subscribe, like, comment if you like. And until I see you next time, take care.